now get into the aquaculture value chain discussion. But before that, we'd like to have Khalfan from Buhler to make a short presentation on aquaculture.
Khalfan, Machera, Buhler aquafeed technologist. And in front of you, I'm going to present on how the aquafeed technology will be contributing to global 2050 protein demand. My key agendas will be 5. I'll be talking about global protein demand, about aquaculture, and also, number 3, I will highlight why we really need to consider aquafeed industry to make fish feeds as the future, as the point for sustainability for now and the future. And I also present on Buhler aquafeed solutions that we offer. This industry is quite new to so many, but lastly, I will introduce an aquafeed production opportunities in Kenya. On 2050, we will be around 10 billion people. Most of us are aware about this one. And with this population, almost half, 49%, will be coming from Africa. So we have set sustainable goals for development, and we know how many challenges that we are facing. And we should reconsider this again, like the contribution for this population or all other challenges we're facing will be coming from Africa. So when we think about sustainability, we also should think about making fish feeds in one sentence. In 2050, we will have a 42% increase in protein demand. And with this increase in protein demand, mostly it will be coming from beef, pigs, chicken, and fish. But we have invested, or we haven't think a lot on fish production. That's why I'm here to stand to present on how this industry will be source of fulfilling this demand. So with this protein increase, there's only sustainable technology routes that will be increasing the protein. And we have seen, and these will be the key trends in the future. Number 1 is a crop improvement, like selections and having good varieties that will give us sustainable yields per acre. Another thing is biosynthesis and recombination. We have seen in the industrialized countries, like they are using fume gases from fossil fuels, putting some bacteria in there to convert methane back into a protein ingredient sources that can be used into animal feeds, and then we consume those animals. This is quite a trend. Insect technology, like growing up black soldier flies, this is quite a trend now, even here in Kenya, rockets and others. Another route that will increase the protein demand now and in the future is innovative aquatic systems. Like we should think about investments into water, investments in blue economy. So for the fish industry value chain, we see it starts from capture and aquaculture, then it goes through trading, processing, retail, and through wet markets and food services. We are having scarcity of fish from the wild capture. This is quite common. So aquaculture is farming of fish. You feed them with feeds, which are aqua feeds, has already exceeded wild catch for human consumption. It's almost 60% of the supply is coming from farming fish. And we see fish is good source of protein, and feeding these fish is by aqua feeds. So when we think about sustainability, we should consider the industry growth in relation to others, like we should not jeopardize other resources which are scarce. For example, for the wild fishes, for the fresh water usage as a source of protein is zero. Like the fish or these aquatic species are just living in the water. Also, if you consider raising a cow on land usage, that will be also a scarce resource. Also, fish is there at zero. Carbon emission, we are always talking about carbon footprints of what we are eating. You can see from the wild catch and from aquaculture is less on carbon emission. So when we think sustainably, like we need to feed our populations, especially with this highest cost part of our diet, we should think sustainably. And you can see from fish, and especially from aquaculture, fish farming is where we can see many points of sustainability. Also, on feed conversion ratio, what you get, 1 kilo of a meat, you can see these salmon, shrimps, bass, tilapia. To get 1 kilo, for example, in tilapia, the most commonly fish here, you use 1.2 to 1.6 kilos as compared to beef. 3 to 9 kilos just to get 1 kilo. You can see even on feed conversion is not more sustainable. Also, on consumption trends, FAO statistics shows that developing countries consume more meat and fish. And you see, fish is leading, and the trend still holds on fish consumption. Also, for the outlook 2010 to 2050, there will be an increase in 90% in aquaculture and 104% in poultry. So we should think about this point. Then, what is aquaculture? Aquaculture is farming of fish in land, bottom culture, also in lines, cage, in all water bodies, in fresh and marine waters. But mostly high production from fish, contributing to 6%, is coming from mostly cage farming. And as you can see, when we think sustainably, we supply feeds to our productions, which is aqua feeds. And then we should also think about all kinds of pollution. We should think about when we provide these feeds, they also should be sustainable. Aquaculture industry is growing at CAGR of 7.2. In the region East Africa, 6.5. And for the production cost breakdown, to get a kilo of a fish, only around 52 to 60% of production cost goes through the aquafeeds. And the aquafeed trends in the future shows that for 8 years, 2027, CAGR of 9.2 increase in the aquafeed market. And these aquafeeds will be mostly from tilapia, grass carp. We have salmon, shrimps, and mollusks, and others. So in the aquafeed trends, industry is to develop the feeds that covers all kinds of fish, from freshwater to marine. So key areas for aquafeed consideration when you make this product into the fish farmers for feed and nutrition. There is a poor raw material quality that you need to convert this. The fish are good converters of this. Nutrition requirements, you should balance this. Nutrient leaching, the product should not be thrown into water and let these nutrients overload our aquatic systems. Unsustainable feed sources, we all speaking about sustainability. And then things of diseases, water quality, meat quality. Also we have another negative effects like eutrophications, things about water usage and nitrogen extraction from the feeds. Also feed cost, survival rate, and overall harvest and growth performances. So you should have a technology that will solve all this and sustainably. So for the product portfolio, for those who doesn't know about aquafeeds, we have this powder type, floating, sinking, submerged. These ones depending on the feeding behavior of your fish, or kind of species that you are culturing. And all these kind of consideration for making these feeds and kind of species, Buhler, we have the technology for this. We have equipment, processes, and all kinds of innovations in the industry. That's why we are introducing. We have more than 150 years experience in grain processing industry, and we have 90 years experience in feed processing industry for all kinds of animal. Though here we are focusing on the aquatic animals. This is the biggest production base of ours where feed milling equipments are coming from in China. So in the making of aquafeeds, grinding is really important because you're starting with very small fish and then you need to mix and make extrusion and drying. This is an outlook of how the processing factory looks like. So for the grinding, you need to reduce particle size. This is important because we have farmers making their own farm feed. The point is to achieve flotation, but they fail. You feed the fish, you don't see they're underwater, you don't see them. Mostly maybe 70% or 80% to achieve floatability of this rate is hard because of poor grinding or particle size reductions. And all this comes through all the process on getting the premium aquafeeds. Mixing is really important. Like when you are blending to get uniformity, and we have equipment which can achieve this with the lowest variation in your mixing. So we have this. If you mix your material and they get segregated, you cannot achieve good quality. And when you present your product to the market, it's hard for acceptability because at the end, the conversion of what you're providing to the animal is not reflecting well because they cannot achieve that performance. That's because of these missed steps on mixing. Extrusion, which is a core technology here in making floating feeds. Here we are having an extruder which is essentially for cooking, and it's essentially for making this starch in your blend to be gelatinized and well cooked, to have a killing of microbes and other anti-nutrition factors. And with this, you will achieve correct density. And this machine will allows the flexibility in these cost formulations, like we can use different kinds of raw materials. We are receiving aquafeeds from outside the country. They are having superior quality because of the quality process. And here when we try to say, okay, let's maximize our aquafeeds production and boost up the fish production sector, but we are failing because the raw materials that we are using and maybe bad selection of the technology and the process results into not achieving those factors like floatability, binding, and to deliver nutrient to the fish based on our local available raw materials. So with these innovations, the extruder, with right innovations that we have put in, they can increase the flexibility in the least cost formulations. Also drying. You know, the fish feeds, they're having a lot of protein inside compared to any other animals. So when you're making this and the moisture is not right, you can make a lot of tons, but when they hit the market, they cannot have longer shelf life because the product itself is having a lot of protein, and with moisture levels not well controlled, the water activity will be high, and then bacteria, then secondary fungus and others will not make your feeds survive well in the shelves. So with our innovative drying technology, we have it can regulate the product moisture contents with recirculation air loops, and this also having some kind of fines management. Like when you're making feeds, then you have fines you need to reprocess, so you cannot lose in your production. So these are some key innovative points that has been considered on the drying process. So if you think about having an entry-level starting up plant, it might look like this, conceptual-wise. Yeah? You have a setup like you receive material through weighbridge, it goes through the production tower, then with this production tower, then it goes through the finished product section, then it can reach the market. Also, you can have a serial storage cleaning section, like when you're purchasing material, when they are at good prices, then you can store them for the time when the prices are more challenging. So this can be a concept. So to finish up my story, from the State of Aquaculture report 2 years ago, current annual fish productions in Kenya is 400,000 tons, but annual demand is 6,000 tons, 600,000 tons. And there is importation of aquafeeds mainly from Israel, Netherlands, Brazil, Mauritius, and Denmark. And with the vision 2030, farmed fish in the country, they need to reach 150 in 2030. So with this 150 tons of fish, it commands the production of aquafeeds of 225,000 metric tons. With this amount of production, it will accommodate the total capacity of 72 tons per hour aquafeed mills. So this is the end of my presentation.